how's it going? Anyone who has joined me just now, I am going to go over some live picks, or pick whatever you guys have suggested. Let me see something real quick actually before I do that. Make sure there's no echo here. All right, so before we do that, let me actually open something up real quick. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Turn the volume down just a little bit. Turn the volume down just a little bit. All right. So actually for right now, this is on my fantasy football stuff, but let's go ahead and go over to what they have for NBA over on Yahoo Sports. And actually before I do that, let me come over here to, let me see. So real quick before I get into the stuff that we have for today, I'm actually going to do something. Let me see if this will work actually, because I want to show you how we did for WNBA. Let me see if this will work. Okay, good. Yeah. So WNBA, we actually did pretty well on. So this was one from Wednesday night's game, and really great game first of all. So shout out to everyone. Kelsey Mitchell looks like she is recovering. That was a very scary injury for sure. But overall, I wish, of course, we would have at least gone for like 25 points for Jackie Young, because she went off. She had a couple of pretty easy baskets there at the end with the Indiana Fever trying to play the foul game. But overall, we did this for WNBA, and then we had something similar but just a little bit easier play with Asia Wilson for the 7 rebounds. But I mean, I think I had something that had her fantasy score. Okay, so this one was a flex, didn't quite get there. And I don't know about you guys, but I am so confused with the rules when it comes to when something's going to get rebooted in PrizePicks in reference to like an injury or whatever the case may be. Kelsey Mitchell was injured, but there was no reboot here, which I would have liked to see. So that would have, it should have gone to the 3x there instead of the loss. So don't really understand the stuff we've got there. And then this one was bad. Of course, in hindsight, I wish I would have just doubled up Asia with the fantasy score and like her points and rebounds, because I just knew her fantasy score would be one for the ages. And I mean, yeah, 75 fantasy score. Incredible stuff there. And I really thought I'd hit this. I really thought either Alyssa or I forget the other Kirsten Bell. I really thought they would get them the ball early and they would shoot, but that didn't happen. I think it was Indiana actually that came out pretty hot. So anyway, so these are our ones from just this past Wednesday, and then I want to get into some stuff that we have for today, but it was really nice to finally get something going last Wednesday. So let me go over here. Actually, let me go. So this is what I have so far for tonight. And yeah, this is what we have so far for tonight. So Kyron Williams, Alyssa touchdown. Devontae Adams, I believe last week he got a touchdown, so I think I want to see him for a touchdown again. Matthew Stafford went pretty low on his passing yards. I think I'll go back and look at these, but I think whenever I did that, whenever I looked at his passing yards, he's done fairly well as of late. And then Christian McCaffrey for his rushing and receiving yards. So let's go ahead and make some picks. Of course, if you have any picks down in the chat, let me know. So I kind of want to replicate that first. I want to replicate that first play. Let's see what we've got. So let me see. We've got. Let me do it like this because it's kind of hard to see. Okay, there we go. So we've got. I want to go Christian McCaffrey for. Wait, let me see. Did I have him for rushing and receiving yards? I did. Okay, so I do want to have him for rushing and receiving. 120 is kind of high. I think I want to make something that's a little bit more reasonable. So 120 is kind of high for him. I want to go with his rushing and receiving yards, but kind of lower. I want to think, yeah, I think I'm going to go 90. So 90, he'll probably definitely get way more. Look at that. But for what I want to build right here is something a little bit more reasonable. And then rushing receiving yards for Kyron. I don't know. Should I do something here? This will be this. So I have Puka on my fantasy team, but this will be one of the first complete games I'll be able to watch for the Chargers, or for the Rams, sorry. Saw Chargers whenever they played opening night against the Chiefs. But trying to decide if I want to go for this for Kyron. I think I do. I think I want to stack a touchdown on top of that. So let me look for that. So yeah, touchdown there. Let's see. Do I want to stack a Christian McCaffrey touchdown? I don't know. If... Let me come back to that. Let me try to build what I had in my previous lineup. So my previous lineup is pretty much this so far, plus Devontae Adams. But I think instead of Devontae, let me go with Puka instead of Devontae for the touchdown. And I know I've seen some Blake picks out there just on the internet, but I think I like this so far. And then the only thing I want to do is then go over to Matthew Stafford. Let me see what they have on the popular board. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go with a pretty easy. That's pretty easy, right? It's a pretty easy pick. my thing is I kind of want to build something that's a little bit more reasonable. So let me actually go over to his passing yards on the passing yards board. Yeah, see. So they have him. Whoa, a lot of people are going for the 250. Not bad. I mean, for Matthew Stafford, I kind of like that actually. 250. But if, So let's do this. Let's go pretty low. Let's go pretty reasonable. Because I think this is pretty reasonable. I'll do more than I typically do. I typically try to just do $1, but I'll go the 250 here on a power play, and then I'll go a little bit more wild for a flex play. So let's do that 250. Wait a second. A lot of folks are going on the pretty low side, so I don't feel too bad about that actually. But let's go with the 250. Not a bad pick there. And then let's go with halves with 25 plus rush yards. Interesting. See, these are they try to get you there with like the halves or the quarters with this number or that number. But anyway, I think I'm just gonna go with Mac Jones isn't a runner, is he? Let me see, where do they have him on like the rush yards? Yeah, he's not really a runner. He'll scramble, but do I want to do something? I don't know. So I will actually go with just rush yards here, even though I always want to go back to the rushing and receiving yards for C-Mac, but I think for the rushing yards for Kyron, I'll just do that. I think I'm going to go back to the rushing receiving yards for C-Mac, if I can find it. There it is. And then let me see. And again, if you have any suggestions on some picks, go ahead and put those down in the chat. Just about 20 minutes or so until they take a lot of this off the board. And a lot of the times what I like to do is also just watch along, and if I see anything interesting, or I'll go ahead and make some live picks, and that's typically with games I don't have a lot of familiarity with in terms of the players. The live picks they help me not only remember in the future for other picks, but of course they help in the moment, just staying on top of it. So let me see. Christian McCaffrey rushing receiving yards. I think I want to go with the 90 there, even though the 100. Let's go with the 100 this time. I think we went with 90 last time. Let's go with the 100 this time. And then let me see. That's passing, receiving. One other thing I like to do is receiving targets. So let's go with that on Puka. Actually, you know what? Now I'm thinking about the secondary for San Francisco. Let me see what I want to do for that. I don't know if I actually want to. And then let me turn down my mic. My mic's really loud for no reason. So I don't know if I want to do something like touchdown combos. Huh. Oh, dang. So it'd be a touchdown each or two for one. So is it going to be one of those kinds of games where like they either both get touchdowns, or I mean you can't combine these projections. See, this is one thing I really don't like, because how, like, whatever. So we can't do that one. Sacks. So let's look at that. This is looking really interesting. Should I do it? Let me look at this one too. I do have a feeling about defense this game. Let's go with Kobe. Oh, this fella's getting both of them. They're getting to. Let's see. I say we just go for it, right? Yeah, let's just go for it on this one. I think I might drop this down to just $1.50. Try not to get too crazy. Okay, so we have a decent amount of lineups. I kind of want to do a simple 2 or 3 pick lineup that isn't going to be too crazy. That's going to be pretty sure thing. And so I think what I want to do there is probably let's go with receptions. Everyone's going with the 8 there. Yeah, let's hop on the band. Let's go with this for now. Let's try to build this out. Go rushing yards. People think Brian Robinson. We'll go ahead and give him. I don't know. This is sort of like a. Okay, no, we'll just do this. We'll go pretty basic here. So we'll go Brian Robinson, or not Brian Robinson. What else do they have for him? So he gets about 20-ish. See, and this is why I try to get these done pretty early, because they're always moving folks either a half a point or a full point, and then that kind of messes with things. But I'll go kind of lower for. I wish they had like a 15, but they don't. So they just have a 10. So 320. So like a 3 1/4 X here. I don't really know what else. That's kind of easy right there. The only other thing I would probably do, that's kind of easy. So let's go ahead and do. Oh, see, they keep moving him up. Okay, so let's go ahead and lock him in for for that. That should be fine. And I think those are all the lineups. Let me go to okay, so this is what they're saying. And again, like, I don't really know why they have certain people on here who are not going to play. That's kind of misleading. Don't really like that. And for some reason my camera's frozen. I don't know why. Very interesting. So, yeah, for some reason my camera's frozen. Sorry about that. Let's see. Take that off real quick. Oops. I keep messing stuff up, y'all, so apologies. I'm just really trying to get to some of the matchups that they've got here. So before I do that, let me go back to trying to fix this real quick. Okay. And let's see if my camera's back. Nope, it's not back yet. I don't really know why it's frozen. It's definitely running off AC power, but I digress. So let's go to like total yards per game. They're pretty equal there. Passing yards, pretty equal as well. And again, I wish these little things would get out of the way. And so, of course, what they're looking at is stuff like this. I'm in Texas, so I can't do any of these here. But if I were to do something like this, I might do... I would probably go under. I don't typically bet unders, but if I were doing the books, I would probably do the under on the 43.5. That's just me. But let me go back to what we have lined up. So this is kind of our pretty easy sure play. And then after that, we have a 6-pick flex play. Went kind of bold here because I have some defensive plays at the end. Let me sort of squeeze out of that so you can see. So I've got these two for a sack apiece at the very least. And I think the way they count them up is they'll even count like the half sack. So if they get a half sack or so twice or 3 times, right, that'll still count. So very interesting the way they do that. Then went with the targets for Puka, the rushing and receiving yards, which was way under for C-Mac. Went with the rushing yards for Kyron, and then it went kind of higher on the passing yards for Matthew Stafford. And then I have a pretty simple one here as well. This one is probably the one I feel the best about because you've got C-Mac way, way low. You've got Kyron pretty decent there, right? And then I went ahead and took Kyron for a touchdown as well. I took Puka for a touchdown, and then went pretty low on Matthew Stafford for his passing yards. And then I went with a couple of different things for this one. So 2 touchdowns across the board. Pretty simple there. And then for Matthew, I think that's the same one actually, yeah. So same one for his passing yards. And then Christian McCaffrey again for the 121 rushing and receiving yards. So that looked pretty good to me. And then this is just looking at the props and overall spread for tonight. Again, if I could, I would probably do the under on the total points. I'm a big fan of betting on total points, and yeah, it looks like a lot of folks are actually going under for total points. I just like to see some of the stuff that they have out there, but overall this looked pretty good to me. Again, if you have any suggestions on prop bets I should make, feel free to put those down in the comments. And again, sorry for my camera for some reason not being active right now. I don't really know why it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, so we're back. So I tried my best to try to fix my camera. There we go. All right. So we're back on camera. Appreciate you, Jay Steezy. Let's see what we've got going here. But overall, the sort of team comparison, this is what they've got over on Yahoo Sports. And in terms of defense, so this is something I actually did really want to look at here. Let me look at their defensive rating. So yeah, again, if I could do some of the sports books, I would definitely go over to the, what is it? It's like touchdowns scored or something like that, and go to the Rams defense if I could. And then again, this is why I took the sacks for the defensive ends. Here, just because from what I've seen, just in the highlights, again, this will be the first time that I get to watch a full Rams game. Like I said, Puka is on my fantasy team, so I'm excited to just get to watch him and Matthew Stafford go to work. But overall, really interested to see what their defense is going to do. And against Mac Jones, that's why I've got the gentleman for the sacks here. But overall, I think that is it, unless anyone has any suggestions for picks to make. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call here. But I hope that... actually, what I didn't do, let me do real quick. So, unfortunately, I won't be able to make any picks tomorrow, right before the WNBA game. So what I want to do is go ahead and go over to WNBA and make some picks there. So let me go back up here, go to WNBA. So we've got a pretty nice matchup. I'm really interested in seeing how this all shapes up. So they say the X factor is Akoa Makani. I don't really know about all that. If she's, I mean, I think the X factor for the Phoenix Mercury is probably going to be Dewana Bonner. Again, quite frankly, if she can come off the bench and just be effective the way she was in that final game, then the Mercury have a really good chance, right? And of course they say the Aces X factor is Dana Evans. I think that's okay. I would say the Aces X factor would be actually Alyssa Smith. If she is scoring, she's definitely going to rebound, definitely going to play some really good defense. But if she's scoring, then that's just going to be really tough to go against. So it's interesting. Whoever Maggie Hendricks is, she says Mercury in 7. And quite honestly, if it came down to 7 games, I think the Mercury would definitely take it. But if it is less than 7 games, and if the Mercury don't come out two games ahead minimum, I mean, because if it ends up going like 3-2 or something like that, yeah, that's gonna be really hard for Phoenix to overcome. But they've overcome things before, so let's go ahead and make some stuff or some picks for tomorrow's game. So Dewana Bonner, I kind of want to go lower on her rebounds. I'll go with 5. Satu, I'll go lower as well. It's first game. I'm kind of going to go lower on pretty much everything if possible. And this is just what's up. This is just what's on the popular board. So let's just go ahead and go over to points and rebounds. Or PRA, excuse me. And I definitely want to go ahead and see what they have for Jackie. Probably go pretty low there. And then Alyssa Thomas, go low there as well. And then go ahead and round it out with an Asia Wilson fantasy score, which hasn't moved. I think it was at 53.5 on Wednesday, and it hasn't jumped up wildly since her crazy fantasy score. Okay, see, this is what I don't understand right here. It says 102 fantasy score, but if I were to, let me put my blocker on. If I were to go back and look at my lineup and the one that I won for her fantasy score, it says 75. So definitely something to watch out for. Like I said, when it comes to PrizePicks, kind of hard to trust a lot of. Okay, so it was at 52.5, so it just moved up a point, but still, 75 is clearly probably more accurate than the 102. Like unless The only thing I can think of is if this includes overtime and the other one didn't. But if this one, either way, I need them to be consistent in what they're showing, because I don't really like that. That's very misleading. If they're saying one thing, one location, and then saying another thing in another location. So, all that said, I'm still going to go with Asia Wilson for her fantasy score. And that looks pretty good to me. Would I take it on a flex play? Since it is pretty... Actually, you know what? I might swap out Satu's points for her points and rebounds. Let me see what they have her at for PRA. If they have her pretty low for PRA, I might do that. 25 is pretty low. She can score 25 if she, decides to. So I think I'm actually going to go with her PRA, because she averages about 2 assists a game, probably about 4 or 5 rebounds, and then score. But before we make any rash decisions, I want to go ahead and look at her points and rebounds. So yeah, if I'm gonna go, this is hard. This is really hard. Let's go with her points and rebounds and then just do the power play. So we'll go ahead and do the power play there. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. We'll do the power play there. So that's a pretty simple lineup. And then we've got football starting already. So I'll go ahead and end the stream here. But just to recap, this is what we've got for WNBA tomorrow. Went pretty low. It's going to be the first game of the series. I don't want to do anything super wild until they get locked in until they, play each other a bit. As you can see the way it went with the other ones. It's going to be pretty interesting to watch. Point spread, I would definitely, if it were me, probably go under if I could make that bet. But overall, this is what we've got for WNBA tomorrow. And then this is not what I want. Okay. So game has started. Already looking pretty good with Christian McCaffrey. So happy to see that. And again, if you have any suggestions on picks that I should make, go ahead and drop them down in the comments, and I'll be going along with this game and probably make some live picks. But I'm not going to do that tonight because I've got a couple of other things to do. But thank you for watching. Go ahead and subscribe if you're looking forward to more live picks. Sometimes I will do these live during the game on Thursdays and just keep up with what the players are doing in game and make some live or in game bets. So thank you again for watching.